The Pikmin series is one of my favorite franchises. Despite only playing Pikmin 3 Deluxe and Pikmin Bloom, I've seen lots of gameplay and discussions about all three mainline games, so I think I know most of each game. And while I do want to play the first two games whether they get ported or remastered to the Switch, we are getting Pikmin 4 soon, so I thought I should talk about how to balance the Pikmin for that game since it's coming out next year. Quick note, I'm mostly only going to be talking about the Pikmin types and not the enemies. I'm also not going to be talking about the Bulbmen because they can survive every hazard and I don't know what they would do if they became more unique. And at that point I'd just be coming up with a new Pikmin type, which is not what this video is about, so they're not going to be included. And some of these changes might interfere with new types of Pikmin that Nintendo might come up with, but I have no way of telling, and I don't think the changes I've decided to make are too much to invalidate any new Pikmin they could add, but I thought I'd just throw that in there just in case. Anyway, let's start. First is the Red Pikmin. These Pikmin are fine as is, but there's one tiny change I would like to make. In Pikmin 3, the fire gases were indestructible, which meant that they were rarely used, which is kind of dumb, because pretty much the two other enemies that could do fire damage were fiery blowhogs, the weird fire guys with tongues that I can't ever remember the names of, and the final boss, which makes the strength of Reds being fire resistant fairly useless. You still use them a lot because they do extra damage, but the fire aspect should still be important. This is why I want fire gases to be destructible by only Red Pikmin, so the fiery aspect matters again, and you can't just have other Pikmin charge at it and then just destroy it, and then just call them easily. This would make it so that there can be way more fire geysers instead of them just being in like two areas in Pikmin 3. That's it for Red Pikmin though, so let's move on to Yellow Pikmin. Yellow Pikmin are tricky to balance. They only have a few uses and you really only need 10 to 15 of them in those scenarios where you use them. Nintendo tried to balance this in Pikmin 3 by letting them dig up faster than the other Pikmin, but that upside is rarely useful, as you don't have to dig up anything to beat the game, and you only have to dig up 2 fruits, one of which you're not even supposed to reach with Yellow Pikmin because they're beyond water, which is Blue Pikmin, to get all of the fruit. And for all of the upgrades, you only have to dig up 2 more things because the Dodge Whistle and Metal Suit Z aren't buried, which you can just do with the other Pikmin anyway. So it doesn't really help at all. Unfortunately, I can't think up much of a solution. There are some minor things I thought of, like since they have ears, they can hear the whistle from further away than other Pikmin, maybe even off screen, and to buff electricity by making it so it eventually kills Pikmin again, maybe even instant kill when you're on the highest difficulty option, if that's going to be a thing in Pikmin 4. But that's really all I can come up with. And it's still probably only going to take 10 to 15 little Pikmin for each task you do with them, but it's something. It's definitely more than what Nintendo tried. On to the Blue Pikmin. Blue Pikmin are also already fairly balanced. I mean, they only have one stat, and it's that they can go and swim in water. But if there's one change I could make, it would be the return of the lifeguard quality of the Blue Pikmin that they had in Pikmin 1. In Pikmin 1, if a Blue Pikmin was idle, or not in your party and not carrying something, they could save other Pikmin types that were drowning, which was removed in Pikmin 2 and Pikmin 3 for some reason. I'd like to see this return, but it shouldn't just be when they're idle, it should also be when you throw a Blue Pikmin at a drowning one. Not really much else to say though. That's really the only change I want to make. On to White Pikmin. White Pikmin being faster at carrying objects is cool, but it's not really a lot, and damaging enemies when eaten is more of a compensation for your mistakes of having Pikmin get eaten than an actual upside. Plus, in the mission mode in Pikmin 3 where these guys appear, you have so few of them that you don't even want them to die anyway, so the stat is extra pointless. So I think the poison guys should return from Pikmin 2, so that the white Pikmin have an elemental hazard like most of the other Pikmin. This alone would make the whites have more use cases, but I have another idea. This one idea will enhance the usage of both the speed and damaging enemies when eaten stats. I want the white Pikmin to also have an onion. In Pikmin 2, where these guys were first introduced, you couldn't get them the normal way, and also with purple Pikmin, but we'll get to that in that section. Yeah, you couldn't get them the normal way. You could only convert them from other Pikmin, which was really dumb and did almost nothing. If they have an onion, it makes it so that you don't have to hoard the white Pikmin, as you can get them the normal way instead of having to convert them from other Pikmin, which lets you use them to carry more items faster and also not care as much when they get killed, letting the poison enemies aspect actually be useful at all, because you don't have to save every last white Pikmin. That's all for them though, so let's move on to purple Pikmin. Purple Pikmin, like yellow Pikmin, are difficult to balance. In Pikmin 2, they were way too good, decimating every enemy in your path like it was nothing. When they brought them back in the side modes for Pikmin 3, they need to not have them be so insanely broken, but in doing so, it made them pretty much worthless in combat. They don't latch onto enemies after the slime attack, and they do terrible damage, making them only useful for carrying back items throughout the entirety of their mission. Basically, the best way to use them was to throw them so that they picked something up and slowly carried it back, and then just forget about them entirely. This is definitely way too far in the other direction. They're way too weak. So how about, during this slime attack, they stun enemies again, but only for half a second, and they do the damage of regular Pikmin. And after one stun, the enemy is immune to getting stunned again for another 5 to 10 seconds. So you still have to use other Pikmin in combat. This would make purple Pikmin a double utility. Yeah, can have them bring back items slowly, just like in the Pikmin 3 mission modes, but you also have them being a utility in combat, stunning enemies for a short time so that you can use other Pikmin to go in and do a bunch of damage. But this has purple Pikmin not be ridiculously powerful. And also because they're not ridiculously powerful, they can have their own onion, so because you don't need to have them very learned anymore. It would be ridiculous if there wasn't an onion and these balance changes were applied. It would just be really dumb. I'll go back to the section on white Pikmin for slightly further details. Yeah. For rock Pikmin, I only have 2 tiny changes. First, I want them to get up slightly faster when hitting an enemy or a crystal, especially when the enemy or crystal wall goes down. It's kind of annoying how long it takes sometimes, especially when you're whistling them. It just takes way too long for some reason. I also want rock Pikmin not to be able to stun certain enemies like other Pikmin types can. For example, hitting out Bulbulb's eyes, or maybe even remove some other smaller things, like instantly killing a dwarf Bulbulb when hit on the back. Just tiny things like those, so any encounters aren't just throw rock Pikmin at it until it dies, like most encounters are in Pikmin 3. Because, yeah, that was pretty much all of them. Because the rocks did ridiculous damage. It didn't matter that you couldn't latch onto them because they just did so much damage. So just tiny changes to make them slightly less good at combat. So it's not just to throw rocks to win. Winged Pikmin are also already fairly balanced, so I only have one change for them, and it's not really to them, but more to sort of the game as a whole, and that's to add more flying enemies. One of the winged Pikmin's strengths is that they are good in combat against flying enemies, but this only occurs like twice in the entirety of Pikmin 3. So there should be more flying enemies so that this trait actually matters. That's all I have for winged Pikmin, and that's all of the Pikmin types. So let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these changes, if you have any other ideas for changes to these Pikmin types, or if I should do a video on new Pikmin type ideas. Wow, how original. Anyway, that's all for now. See you next time. Like and subscribe. Bye-bye.